Clements, Newswatch.
Okay, this is a new video camera I've got, and it has a new feature on it. It's a positive negative feature, so that I can actually take pictures of negatives and it will give me a positive picture. These are a bunch of old ones I'm going to mess around and experiment with. This looks to me like Slim Horton in front of his old mail wagon uptown, in front of the old bank building, one on the northeast corner, and Wimpy's old filling station is back there in the background. I'll move up now and get some real close pictures of it and see how that works. That's up close, so I'm sure it's Slim. U.S. mail. There's a license plate, 20-3415, Nebraska, and I can't quite read that date. This was taken from the top of the old Elmwood Mill, looking west. You can see the old Farmers Co-op elevator in the background, and you can see the coal bins on the left, and the depot in back of that. Interior of one of the school buildings. I'm not sure, I just don't believe it's the one that before the present one. It may have been in the old wooden school building. Maybe somebody can recognize him. Look a little like Cecil Stark. Oh, that could be Carl Snyder and Bud. It was taken in the old Williams garage, Helen Snyder's dad's garage. This building's now the present mortuary. You can see the old lineup of old Fords and whatever else there was there. We'll have a closer look at them. That one there definitely looked like it needs work. That old Roadster didn't have any top or anything. Don't know what that one is. Positive slide on glass, and they were made for the old community building. When they had movie picture shows, they would show these slides in between the shows. They had some of them with advertising and some of them just photographs. I'm sure Bud was behind, maybe Guy was behind these. This looked like a dandy horse. Looked like the local orchestra. The tall one standing is Clements, and the one sitting down, I'm sure, is Guy. I don't know who the women are. We'll take a closer look. That's Sam. Guy. Oop, what happened there? I lost it. That looked like Orly Clements to me. Looked like four madams out in front of the hotel. There's Orly showing off his muscles again. He was quite an athlete. Played football for Prue State Teachers College. again. Northwest, I believe. That may be the old present City Hall building right there in the center next to the water tower. Look like there's a bell tower up on top of it. Like that's the water tower before they put the steel tank. Still had the old wooden tank on it, and they've evidently moved the bell up onto the water tower. Whether it's down the Claps Park or whether it's in Milford or someplace. It's Grandma Bailey at her sewing machine. These are quilting ladies at Grandma Clements' house. Not sure who they are. The one in the upper left might be Merle, Evelyn, Evelyn. One third from the right in the back is Grandma Clements, and the one on the far right I think is Helen Snyder's mother. Sanding guy and a couple gals with their instruments. This looked like some more butts, like Orley and Keith. But this is I'm quite sure it's a Best Street or Aldrich house. That window's in the back looking into the dining room, and the other doors go off towards the kitchen and the bookcases there on the right. But I mean, it's fairly good negative. It could make a pretty good picture off of it. Edge of town where Yika's is now. There's the house in the north end of town there, where Ruth Reeder lives. One of them used to be Doc Liston's. Don't know whose house that is. Of course, it could be in there backwards. See how it looks the other way. Like a band picture. A lot of those are taken out in front of the GAR hall looking east. $1912. Yeah. That one there in the middle is Mom, Emma Clements. That's where the Lenses live, south of Elmwood now. My Aunt Martha and Uncle Dan Rumlin, their daughter Dorothy, or Florence Stoltz, lived there when I was a kid. Florence remember the wedding reception there that night when I was a little kid. Me. Got a pretty good crop of eggs. green in his famous clarinet, like Bud there at the very left. Negatives for the tape so far will be in the cigar box. From now on, the next section will be an envelope marked number 1. I think that's Dad, is Orley Clements and Harry Clements playing football. That's Harry lived in the house next to Grandma Clements, is now the Finley house, as most people know it. That says the chapel. Maybe it might have been the old Oddfellow Lodge or Masonic Lodge chapel. The dog they had named Bummy, I think it was. I don't know whether this is him or not. He's hitting himself there. It looked like a snowy day. It had 1917 written on the negative. B.I. Clements' home. That's the old outhouse in back of the B.I. Clements' home. That's football in front of the B.I. Clements' home. The only one I recognize for sure is Orley Clements taking the snap from the center.
Isn't that Alma?
That could be Alma on the right side. I'll go zoom in and see if I can get a better look at him. I wonder if that might be Dwight. I have no idea where this swimming pool is, or lake, or whatever it is. I don't know if those are bathhouses or what it is there. Clements. Alma painted. We have that picture hanging in our living room. Bud. Here's Bud in front of the old mortuary, and that the Pennerman store in the background. Pennerman department store. Got burned down. The old Methodist church. Another one I don't know. There's Bud in front of the old hearses. Alma Clements. Looked like Alma let her hair down for this one. Alma must have paid for this film. There's several more that I didn't copy. Don't know where that is. It looks like some pretty big piles of corn to be picked by hand. That's in the old Clements house down here in Elmwood. Like Dick Clements. Kid sledding in front of the Bailey home. That's where Mrs. Laws lives now, just a half a block south of us. That's Bud's laboratory. has to be Bud and Carl Snyder. Wonder if that might be Guy with Betty. There's a gang in front of the old GAR hall. Looks like the Nyhart buildings. Boys in front of the Comer house or the Finley house, right next to Grandpa Clements' house. I believe that might be Dick. I'm not sure. Bud. Bud sure liked to use a lot of caskets in his scenes and plays. Carl Snyder and maybe Cecil Stark. Negatives that were taken, I'm sure, down at Prue State Teachers College when the boys went to school down there. That's Bud and somebody else down at Prue. Quite sure that must be a bird's eye view of Peru, the top of one of the college buildings. Bud and somebody else in manual training at Peru. There's Bud, Bud, Dick, Carl Snyder. I don't know who the other one is. Looks like Dick doing his washing down at Peru. Carl Snyder and somebody. The gang in front of the GAR hall. Like Dick, Guy, must be the girlfriend. Guy in the back and Dick there. I don't know who the other two are. I don't think that's Elmer. This one says a stuffed hawk. Comer's old building there in the background. Not quite sure where that was taken from. I suppose that's a Christian church down there. Unless it could be possibly the old Lutheran church that was up here by our place. Clements' old home across from South and Best Street or Aldrich's. Just noticed, looked like they're just pouring the front sidewalk there. Somebody's Ford car in front of the old EUB church. Bailey house. City of Lincoln looking down from the Capitol, state capitol. There's a good one. That's got to be Ralph Green. Clements again. Way out behind the barn with his jug. Bad, these negatives are so bad. I reckon that looked like Guy Clements right there. His house there in Elmwood again. There's another good one, except the last negative is bad again. The results of the tornado that hit south of town years ago. There's Dad, Orley Clements, with that gang. I wonder what's going on there. That is. A lot of self-portraits. This is one of the prized glass negatives I found. It's an 8x10 of Grandma Bailey. That's Grandma Minnie Clements' mother. Looks like it's in perfect shape. She lived with Grandpa and Grandma Clements. That's what they built the south wing onto that old house down there for her to live in, like a little apartment. That house was originally a one-story. Grandpa Clements bought it and made a two-story out of it, and then they built that wing on for her to live in. Like she got on open-toed shoes. This is the Clements family band. Up back left is Guy, Dick, Bud, Orley, and Sam. The bottom row is Grandma Clements, Grandpa Clements, and Alma. This is another 8x10 negative, glass negative of the same band. Just a little better negative, this one. Guy, Dick, Bud, Orley, Sanford. Grandma Minnie. Grandpa B.I. and Alma. Okay, I'm starting another box of negatives, so I'm going to start trying to keep them a little bit straight so I can maybe find them. I'm going to label this next bunch envelope number 2. I think there's Elmwood Hotel sign there. I can't quite read the rest of it. Probably could if you had a print of it. And that's in the hole there where the old Fennerman building burned down. Nebraska State Fair, Saturday, August 31st. Monday, September 12th or 2nd, one or two. Well, it looked like kind of like a camping shelter, but that's in the backyard of the Clements house there in Elmwood. It must be the interior of the Green's drugstore. That's Ralph standing there on the left. But you had a lot of bottles in there. Yeah, that's Ralph and Harry Green, I'm pretty sure. That looked like a pretty tough football team. Third game. Recent negative with the Rolleiflex camera. Don't know what the deal was there, what they were burning. That looked like a pile of old airplanes they're burning there. I can't figure that one out. Well, I'd like to have those now before they burn them. Something I'm sure that Bud has taken somewhere. There's Sody Pop. This is another real old little negative. More about that. That sure looks like a bunch of old wing sections and stuff of airplanes that they're burning. Yeah, there's a tail section. Wings. Doesn't that make you sick, Sparky? Some more recent shot taken with a Rolleiflex camera again. Down there must be the traveling drug salesman. That's a little more recent. That's Ruth Stilgebauer, Alain, Fitch, Opal Clement, and I believe Mrs. Fitch. Someone suited up and took on their daughters when they were in high school. First one, that's Emma Clements, my mom. That was Mrs. Acton, Opal Shreve, Opal Clements. There's Spence Ledger with one of his ball teams, which was again of burning airplanes. That looked like a round insignia there on that one plane. Just a thought just entered my mind. Sanford Clements was in the service, and I think he had something to do with the Air Force, because I know he had an old piece of a wood propeller or something that he was in his house. One of these could be something that he brought home. That's a little more recent. There's one of the Elmwood bands. Looks a little bit more recent. There's Burt Minshaw on the tuba. There's a Stoke for Murdoch, clarinet. Yeah, that's Burt Minshaw back there on the tuba. That's Doc Williams with the clarinet. Don Kelly with the French horn. Neil McCurry with the trumpet. Taylor, he was superintendent of schools. There's Keith Clements, the background there with a bright, shiny clarinet cornet. There's Bud there in front. Gang again. That's Grandpa Clements there on the left with the derby on. Out behind the soda pop fountain. Here's a couple of more newer ones. Had to put them in. Ed Parrott. First one looked like Phyllis Green. Third one Betty Clements. Looks like it might be Ruth Stilgebauer next to her. I remember when Bud went back east and drove that hearse home to LaSalle. Another one spent a few years back, Miss Williams, the coach, and the Queller's girl, Dorothy Sterner, Jean Dare Bothwell, Pearl Keene. That's kind of blurred there. Patty Stark, Norma Clements. I just can't remember who that one in back is. That's an Acton girl, Violet Hollenbeck. Opal and Bud Clements. That's when Bud was quite ill with Dicky-Doo disease. Third one from the left is Dora Engelking. The Grandma and Grandpa, the ones that were in the service. Upper left is Orley, Grandpa Clements, Grandma Clements, Dick. Lower left is Guy, and then Sanford. Vent, that's a hay rake he had on the front of the 39 Chevy. Grandpa Clements and Alma, I believe. In his pocket, that must have been maybe down at, when he's going to school down at Peru on the Missouri River. Another one of Bud's inventions, a buzzsaw. Looks like it's got about an 8-inch diameter wheel on it. And Josephine Turner. Bud Clements, not sure, it might be Cloyd Turner. Phyllis Green, the first one, the third one, Betty Clements. And I get lost, that might be a Tollers there on the end, I don't know. Number 2 of negatives, and the original negatives will be in envelope number 4. Can't get away from Bud. That's probably Wabash Pond. That's Opal Clements, Josephine, and Cloyd Turner. Hearse again. That's a little more recent. That's Dwight down below. That's Ralph Green in back. Burt Minshaw, the tuba. Clements. His inventions, a powered lawnmower, way before its time. I guess overalls were standard uniform for baseball and those. There's Marie Clements with Gary on the end. Looks like that might be the Whittemore girl right next to him. Linder and Orville Gerbling at the school picnic. Bird gang again. Out at the farm a mile south of town. That brings back bad memories. Had a bad winter. Dad used to go out and couldn't get down there. He'd walk down and with somebody, I forget who went with him, they'd skin the dead ones to save the hide. Then they'd ate everything that there was in sight so they'd get out all the time. We tried to get them back in. And her daughter, Minnie Clements, I think that's Minnie's son, Dick, in the center. high chair that I have in the basement that we were raised in. Mentioned it's a hog trough, feeding trough that he could dump with a lever. When he went down to feed him, he'd dump the old out with just pulling the lever. There's a guy with another load of women. Okay, the next bunch will be in envelope number 5. Just like this next bunch, and most of them will be of South Bend. Bud, and I believe it's the West girl, 2 Copeman girls, Ethel and Pearl, and Opal in the front. The old swimming area, looking across the lake, that was the old diving platform, and there's a boxing stand on the right beach. Across the lake there was still a dike and no cabins at all. That looked like Ruth Fitch, Stilgebauer, and Henry Knopf's head sticking out of the sand. Looked like he has a different girl this time.
It's the same one, isn't it?
Either that or a different outfit. Bud, the old inventor, this was the first paddle boat on the lake, made out of 2 old hot water tanks and an old bicycle. First time he launched it, we gang of us pushed him out, and he had corks in the tank where the pipes went in, and needless to say, in about 3 minutes he sunk. I think that's Ruth Stilgebauer, and that's Betty Clements on the right. It's Opal Clement, Dynamite Pete, and Ruth Stilgebauer Clement. Ruth Stilgebauer. Looks like Bud is saving someone. Opal, Dynamite Pete, and Ruth Stilgebauer again. Dynamite Pete used to hang around the bar and grill area, and he could open a bottle of beer with his teeth. West girl on the left, Opal on the right. That's an inboard boat that Sam Clements' boys started in Peru, and then after the war we put a Jeep engine in it and brought it over to the lake. That's Wendell Cook in the back. I believe that's a Root on the left. That's me sitting up on the front with a spear. We used to spear carp and gar. That's Horace Cook driving. That guy in the center sure is handsome. That's the Clements cabin. First cabin on the lake built in early 30s. Looking south, a little bit west. Like Opal Clements lost her head there. Another one of the paddle boat, Betty Clements and Ruth Fitch Stilgebauer. Bud showing off in the boxing ring. Dwight Clements and his mom, Marie Clements. Right east of the original Clements cabin, there used to be a very huge mountain of sand. Must have been put up with a big drag line, but we spent a lot of hours up there. That's where cabin number 6 is sitting now. It finally hauled off and leveled out, but we really had a beautiful view from up there. Opal Clements on the paddle boat, hanging on for dear life. That has to be Ruth Fitch again on the left. Pauline Fitch, Ruth Fitch Stilgebauer, Mrs. Fitch, and Opal Clements. Same gang. Left is Eileen.
Reminds me of Doris Clements.
Bunch of negative cabin. That was the original start of the Lehman cabin now. It's still built inside of their cabin, one of their bedrooms. This is Orly and Emma Clements' Buick.
Oh my.
It rolled into the lake. John and Norma Lehman's kids were in it, and their grandparents were taking care of them, and the kids pulled it out of gear. It rolled down backwards and hit a tree, and Johnny, the boy, fell out on the ground, and the girl went on in the lake, and Dad tried to stop the car, but it knocked him down and knocked his shoulder out of joint, clear out of joint, but he ran after it, and he just was going down, he reached through the door and grabbed her by the hair, but he couldn't get out, but the neighbor, Grim, came over and helped pull him out, the two of them. It's a 1952 Buick. That was the wrecker that used to pull the car out. That's Gina Dare Bothwell Ruloff and Jim Ruloff, her husband, and their kids. On the left is Sandy Clements Graham. The next one is Norma Clements, now Lehman. That's the Ruloff kids there again.
That's Linda, not Norma Clements.
I'm sorry. Linda Clements. Lehman, I'm all mixed up. Jean Bothwell Ruloff. That's the car that's starting to come up out of the lake. That's Dwight on the right. Don't know who the other one is, but it was in about 10 feet of water or a little more before it stopped rolling. This is inside of Bud and Opal's little cabin. It's like Dwight making a feet first dive of some sort. Looks like it's going to turn into a belly flop. Looking down in the old inboard, I think we had some high school kids over one day. Have a closer look at them. John Lehman's boy, Johnny. That's the day he threw sand on Gladys's blanket. There's Dwight's steering. Looks a little like Clarence Rita there in the back. I think Dwight was the one that dove down and hooked the chain onto it. Okay, this next bunch of negatives is envelope number 6. Looks like Bud experimenting with one of his first radios. All laboratory. Looks like Herb Hallfish on the far left there. Looks like he's got his Lux soap out there ready to do his laundry. Maybe they're getting ready to put up a hot air balloon. Pornography in those days. Will be number 7. I think this bunch will be mostly Clements pictures. That's Keith Clements on the left, Grandpa Clements and Bud. Not sure about the other boy. Grandpa Clements and one of the kids pushing the lawnmower. It looked like it might possibly be young Dick Clements, lives in New York. There's a game of golf as it should be played. That's Grandpa Clements, I think, on the right. It looks like maybe Sanford there. I'd like to have them try to shoot Grandpa's woods course. Looks like Grandma Minnie's even taking a whack at it. Look at that golfing form. Not too fast to shutter. He's wiped out the club, but you can't see it. It's Grandpa Clements. That's another one of Sanford, probably in the service. There's Grandpa Clements with Bud's hay rake again. There's Bud taking a crack at it in the backyard at Grandpa Clements' house. Grandpa Clements used to tell me they golfed down at Weeping Water, and they had a course right kind of north of where their football field is right now. Pretty sure that's Keith Clements again. That's Dick Clements. Doesn't look like his wife Gladys though. That's Sanford Clements, so that would probably be his first boy, Dick Clements. It's Grandpa Clements with the boys again. Orley on the left, Dick on the right, Guy on the left, Sam on the right in the front. They were all in the service but Bud, he was too young. That's Dick. Orley, Sanford, Guy, Dick. Hope you like the background music so you keep you from getting too bored and going to sleep. That's Minnie and B.I. like you're reading the morning newspaper. That's Hattie Clements, probably with Dick Clements again. Hattie and Dick. Bud and Carl Snyder. As you probably no doubt have guessed by now, they were very close buddies. Guy, Sanford, Dick, and Orley. Guess who? Guy. That's Hattie Clements again, probably with Dick. They lived in Lincoln, I think, at that time. This is where the Army got the idea for war games. They're still doing it. Proud Sanford holding Dick. It's always the case the first kid gets all the pictures, the rest of them don't get any. Good picture of Grandpa. 3 or 4 newer ones that got mixed in here. That's Dr. Liston at his office in Elmwood. Another one. Dwight has a gang out for a sleigh ride. Looks like the horse left a deposit. Grandma Minnie with her banjo. This next bunch will have a lot to do with the Orley Clements gang, and it'll be in envelope number 8. That's Orley and Emma Clements. Bud peeking around the tree. It's Keith with a snowball in his hand. Keith again, looked like Dad must have cut his hair. That's Boyd standing on the front of the old inboard boat spearing carp. Bud waited all afternoon till he got me picking my butt. Short for a little tight. That's Keith listening to a radio, one of Bud's first homemade radios. That's when we lived up there where Neil Dorr lives now. Keith with his fishing pole and a can of worms. Dad was trying to train him early. Keith again. This tells quite a story. This is at the farm south of town. That's back when Guy bought sheep. Of course, they didn't have enough water. It got dry and he ran out of water for the well. So Dad hand dug the well, and they laid it up with brick kind of as he went. But he's down. I don't know how far he went down for water. They'd bring that up with a bucket full of dirt at a time. Dad down in the well. OSHA sure wouldn't allow that nowadays. See, that's Grandpa Clements in the background watching. Can't remember who he had to bring the dirt up for him. One of Bud's inventions, a cart, which still exists. I think Wally Laughlin purchased it here in town. As far as I know, he still has it. That's me in the driver's seat right after I got out of the service. Grandma Clements has given me a push. Wish I was that young again, know what I know now. Keith again. Grandpa B.I. giving me a push now. There we're out after carpet again on the old inboard. That's me in the front. Wendell Cook in the back. That spear I welded up and made there, that was a good one. I could hit him with that one. Orley and Keith. Here's a few more newer ones mixed in. This is Emma Clements. That's Orley Clements with 3 of his grandkids. Johnny Lehman, Linda Lehman, and Sandy Clements. Promoting another band. I don't know who the first boy is. The second one is Sandy Clements, and the little boy on the right is Rex Clements. I think that those 2 boys back there are Jack Anderson's boys, Jerry and young Jackie, and that's Sandy and Rex also. Emma Clements again. Okay, this next bunch of negatives will be envelope number 9. Bud's B-29 pictures. Corn chucking contest. Watson Jones, Elmwood, Nebraska. This is an old negative again. That looked a little like Phyllis Green. It's like Dwight now, but I got that pegged. That's got to be Betty then, maybe. Snyder headed out for their honeymoon. The Clements. Did a pretty fair job on his leggings. Okay, this next bunch will be envelope number 10, and most of them will pertain to Bud or his activities and friends. That's Bud there, in case you didn't know it. That's Mrs. Bud. I don't know how she handled him for that many years. Music was Opal's strong suit. She gave piano and organ lessons, singing, I guess, a little everything. Bud and Opal are in the left. There's Bud in his cart. And Amos. which cousin that might be. That looks like Floyd Turner and his wife and baby. That's Opal, Bud, Josephine, Clyde Turner, and Mona Bothwell, Opal's sister, Clyde's sister. This is another one of Bud's early inventions, way ahead of his time, the contour lawn chair. That's Ralph Green in there, and with his two daughters fanning him and bringing him ice water. Bet Fred would like to have that one to restore. Yeah, that's out in front of the Clements house there again, looking east. But hayrake convention again, the Methodist church in the background, Grandpa Clements and Opal. That way, Bud, crack the whip. Bud would take a crack at every instrument he'd get his hands on. He could play most of them. It looked like Carl Snyder in there. Look at how that thing shined, a reflection off the side of that black paint. Opal. That's a picture of a photograph of the grave of Cap Aldrich when he was buried. That's Slim Horton on the left, somebody else working on a car. That's in the old Williams garage where the mortuary is now. It says a gang at the Bailey place. There in the center. Don't know where Bud took that, but it looked like maybe Horace and Elsie on the right, and then Wendell Cook and his first wife, and probably Gloria Jean, the baby. Just a guess. I think this was a negative for that Cap Aldrich funeral. This one I think probably was Armistice Day, just guessing. They'd probably taken the top of the old Green's Drugstore or Fennerman building. I don't know what that big steam engine type thing is there on the right hand side, but that's a old Langhorse store there on the right before it burned. That's where the Masonic Lodge stands now, and the Opera House was up on the second floor. There was another building to the east of that, but that White House in the background there, that's still standing today. That's a pretty old house. Maybe that's a fire truck or something. They got hoses. I don't know what that could be. Negatives I'll put in another envelope and number 11. This is a picture of a photograph. I think probably the damage from that tornado south of town. Rob Clements. And that was the second box of slides. I'll just number it. A few more colored 35 millimeter slides, but I'll put them in box number 14. That's Bud's polka band, his old Model T, and Ed Perry would always drive it for him in their parades. For now, I've probably got some more around someplace, but I still got a million of them with a Rolleiflex camera of newer pictures. We'll see how these turn out, decide whether we can start copying those someday, but there's a million of those. Copying the glass negatives and old regular negatives, but my number one son had a box of glass slide negatives that I didn't know about, so I'm going to try and copy those. I don't have a number on the box, but don't know the number to put on, but I'll put on the next number from what I said the last time. I think I might recognize that might be Ralph Green when he was young. I guess that's Bud. like Guy and Alma. Getting out of the trees there. That's got to be Sanford standing up there, and I assume that's Guy below there. Doesn't look quite like him. That looked like a two-man band if they could just play all of them. That's Dad, Orley Clement. Looked like he's got his hair pretty well tossed up there. These negatives were all taken about the same time. That should have been around 1911 and that picture was taken. It says Wilcox on that grave when I was on the Padre.